Season 49, war number 6, and we are up against Nefti. And this time my team will be Kate Bishop, Photon and Werewolf by night. I will be taking path 4 in section 1, path 1 in section 2, and then I will be taking a Photon, Gorr, Kindred, Sasquatch and Onslaught mini-boss, along with that Bullseye boss, using Werewolf by night, and that might be a little bit surprising to hear, but that's what I'm doing, and I'm gonna explain how soon enough. But before we get started, I'm gonna take this time to quickly go over what went down in NewN. Essentially, during this war, we identified someone breaking the TOS in the Alliance, and we don't tolerate that at all over at NewN, so we went ahead and immediately removed them from the Alliance. That means that this war was a guaranteed loss from the beginning, since we will not be able to clear one of the BGs fully, so essentially all the fights you're gonna be seeing here, or at least most of them, are gonna be without max boosting, but I'm still gonna be using some of the bigger boosts just for the sake of this war video. And that said, let's get to it. First off, here we have an Ebony on the steady build up Fury, and running on fumes nodes. I almost forgot what it was called, and I'm taking the fight with Kate Bishop. Now, first I was gonna use Photon here, but this is my first war ever using her, so I wasn't feeling too confident, so I went with the old and reliable Kate Bishop. Now, I knew I would be taking some damage here, almost guaranteed, but that I should also be able to nuke the fight down pretty quickly with Kate Bishop's cold snaps. So I'm essentially just avoiding the special one, so that I don't get the degeneration here, boosted by the Furies on the opponent from the nodes, since that would hurt a lot. And overall, the fight itself isn't all that difficult, so long as you keep knocking him down with your heavy attacks, to make sure the falter is never a problem. Fight goes down, and honestly, the only real bit of chip damage that I took was from a blocked special 2, but I would rather block it than miss the decks. Then we have a Silver Surfer here on the steady build up Fury and long distance relationship nodes, and I'm taking the fight with Werewolf by night. Both champions are tactic, so that cancels out, and essentially all that is left is for me to just, well, keep up my tactic prowesses, and that's about it. The weaknesses are annoying whenever I get them, but this fight is gonna be over quickly enough that the weaknesses will not have a chance to stack up too much. Now, I am not exactly sure why I threw the special one there. I think it was an accident, but regardless, he is already melting pretty quickly from just those basic ruptures. Now ideally, you just wanna get the curse active as soon as possible, drop a special 2, and the opponent will, in most cases, just melt. Fight is down in roughly 50 seconds. Did take some chip damage here as well, mainly due to the fact that I didn't really wanna dex the special ones and block them instead, since the tactic prowesses are very important to keep up. You don't wanna stack up the indestructibles on the opponent, and healing up is easier than dancing around in a time-limited fight against a fully indestructible opponent, so that's usually the preferred option for me at least. Then we have a Vision Aarkus here on the Never Back Down node along with Indomitable, and I'm taking the fight with Werewolf by night as well. Now as you saw there, I didn't heal up to full, which is something that I usually do, but again, we are not winning this war, so I didn't really care all too much if I died or not. It won't matter, and we are not counting this war for our stats either for the season. So Vision Aarkus, a tactic defender, but that's about all he has going for him. And, well, the tactic prowesses alone just completely shut down his power gain, making him a pretty weak defender all in all. Now Werewolf, his damage output is pretty crazy as well. Again, I didn't get to my curse in time before my first special 2, but even then, the opponent is just melting, and this second special 2 will finish him off. A tiny bit of chip damage taken there as well, but nothing too major. overall, Werewolf, one of the better tactic champions. The only issue is that he will get reparried if you try to go for some hits into the opponent's block. However, I do have a solution for that, which I came up roughly a war before this one. So I'm very excited to show it off this time around, but that will only happen once we get to the Bullseye boss. Now here we have a Hulk on the buffet over time node along with Arc Overload, and I'm taking the fight with Kate Bishop. Honestly, this one is very simple, nothing really to mention. The only real, well, risk, or however I should put it here, is the Unstoppable that Hulk has when he triggers his Gamma Rage, if that's what it's called. And well, he's just not even gonna get to that point in this fight. I already have the cold snaps on, so I just gotta hit him a few times, try to pause them, and the fight is done in roughly 40 seconds. Again, no issues there whatsoever. Even though Kate Bishop doesn't shut down the regeneration in any way, the cold snap damage itself is enough to offset it and overpower it even. Overall, Kate Bishop, one of the stronger DOT champions in the game, and I'm surprised she lost the votes for the skill addition to the 7-star crystals back when, well, they had that vote on Twitter. She lost to Shang-Chi, which is, yeah, that didn't age too well now, did it? Anyways, next up we have a Photon here on the Power Snack and 1 Too Many Hits miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Kate Bishop. Now I have taken this fight before. Last time my plan was to use the Tranquilize pre-fight to start with that mode first. Get the Tranquilize debuffs on the opponent to prevent Photon from triggering any debuffs on myself. That shuts down he or her charge gain, meaning the Pure Light form will never be a problem. However, this time I figured I should just go for the damage from the start with the cold snaps, and the fight shouldn't be all too difficult. Now here I made a bit of a mistake. I went for the knockdown while she had over 10 charges and a bar of power, so I ended up taking some chip damage there, having to parry the special one, but at the very least I didn't eat it directly, so I have not consumed my invulnerability boost. Now here I got the full dex on the special 2, which is perfect. Just managed to get the pause on the first cold snap, but it did end up falling off in the end, so my damage output is not as good as it could be. And here again I make another mistake by the knockdown into the Pure Light form. This time it was a bigger mistake since I also pushed her to a special 2 on accident, and naturally whenever she has the opportunity to throw it fully unblockable, she usually does, and it lands. Luckily I did have the invulnerability boost on, so even though the last hit of the special did hit and land a crit even, I didn't end up dying, and that's purely because I had the boost on. So I am happy I used it, even though, again, we are losing this war, but it makes for good content, I guess, getting these fights done and showing, well, at least sometimes what not to do and usually what should be done. But anyways, next up we have a Gorr here on the High Energy Diet and Burden of Might miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Werewolf by Night. I was a bit worried about this one. I hadn't done it before, so I was asking for my alliance mates for videos, and turns out it's honestly pretty easy to take. Despair and the Rupture debuffs shut down the healing pretty much completely, and well, with a rank 2 Werewolf, a single special 2 will basically just nuke the defender if I can get there, but overall, just spamming the special once over and over, abusing MD by nullifying the regen buffs, that's essentially all you need to do. And that's what I did for the most part, until I got to my special 2 here, and yeah, Gorr is dead. No way for him to escape that, even with his regeneration, and the fight is done. Honestly, that's a lot of fun, almost as fun as using White Tiger for it. But I would say she is still the stronger option. Though Werewolf, not a bad option either, I gotta admit. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've already used Werewolf for a couple fights and I have not showcased the trick to avoid getting reparried with him. That is coming, I assure you. I just like to keep you in suspense, I guess. And the previous fights didn't really need it. Anyways, here we have a Kindred on the Hazard Shift, Shock and Bleed along with the Conflictor miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Photon. Photon doesn't have any way to deal with the shock debuffs, but she does have a lot of energy resistance, so she can deal with it for the most part. On top of that, she is immune to bleed, so the other half of the Hazard Shift node is completely dealt with. All that is really left is Kindred's basic kit, or his own kit, and well, as long as you know how to deal with it by punishing his special attacks correctly, he doesn't really do anything. The degen will never be an issue as long as you can keep the charge gain paused by punishing the specials, and that's honestly about all there is to fighting this, well, person, thing, entity I guess. And yeah, at this point I'm just gonna be spamming some special 2s with the science power back boosts in the pure light form with those passive furies. And yeah, one thing that I forgot to mention is also the fact that whenever Photon triggers a debuff on the opponent, she will also inflict a passive petrify, lowering their ability power rate and regeneration rate, which tends to shut down the Conflictor node here, or at least the power gain off of the node. Your debuffs will still get purified by it, but that's not really an issue. All you need is for the debuff to trigger in the first place to ramp her up, and that still happens even if it gets purified by the Conflictor node. Overall, Photon did work very well for that fight. I was pretty happy with it, though pretty nervous going in as well, since, as I said, this is my first war using her, and to be quite honest, I'm not a big fan of using her. I do have her in my BG's deck and I do draft her quite often, but it's usually only on defense, and on attack, well, I can't say I have any fond memories of winning any crazy fights with her, but she's not bad, and that's just me, and maybe even a skill issue on my part. I really don't know. I maybe gotta try to use her some more. Now, next up here we have a Sasquatch on the power efficiency and missing in action miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Photon. Now here, I was already almost fully ramped up, so I triggered the pure light form very early on, getting some damage in before he gets too many of those charges. I forgot what they are called, rage stacks, potentially, I don't remember. Either way, I'm getting some nice damage in here, even though this is one big Sasquatch, and honestly, I was very nervous about this one as well. I had a video, I knew what I should be doing here, and all that is left is to just execute it properly, and I shouldn't have any actual problems. The main issue with this placement is that when he triggers the Wrath, his specials will then consume no power at all. So he can just spam specials over and over and over again for the full duration of the Wrath. That can be very scary, especially if you don't have power control, which Photon doesn't, apart from the Petrify, but that doesn't really help to reduce his power, it just prevents him from gaining any more, or as much as he normally would. Either way, I did manage to wait out the Wrath, pretty pain-free. And now, at this point, he's down to 9%. I have been very good at actually managing the falter on this node, but even if I didn't, Photon's mediums cannot miss, and while the pure light form is active, she can't miss altogether, so the falter node isn't really the problem here. Of course, I try to use it to my advantage as well whenever I can by landing specials or heavies to transfer the falter to the opponent, just so I can get my openings easier without needing to block or do any of that. It is a nice safety net to have, and the node just gives it to you so long as you play around with it. Overall, that fight went a lot better than I thought, and Photon, I gotta say, she is growing on me, but still wouldn't be one of my, well, main used attackers in BGs or War going forward, and I doubt she ever will be. Then next up we have an Onslaught here on the Stony Reflection and Polka Dot Power miniboss node, and I'm taking the fight with Werewolf by night. I have done this fight before, it is never a fun fight, takes a little bit longer than you would like a Werewolf fight to take, but that's not really the problem. The issue on this node is the brute force node and Onslaught's very long special 1 attack. essentially, whenever he uses the special one, you are guaranteed to take some brute force damage, and there is just nothing you can do about it. And honestly, there I made a huge mistake by throwing my special 2 into his block, meaning the brute force timer, or the degen, kept on ticking on me, and he could have even punished my special, but for whatever reason he didn't. Had he done that, I'm fairly confident I would have died in this fight, but since he didn't do that, gave me a second chance, I can confidently say the rest of the fight will go down without any bigger problems. It's been a minute, he's down to roughly 20%, and overall the fight isn't too difficult to take. It's just, if the AI is annoying, you take a ton of regen damage, and even if it's not being annoying, you will take a ton of damage. So if you have to use Werewolf again after this fight, you will be forced to use a lot of potions. Now, the boss wasn't assigned to me in the first place, but since I wanted to prove that the trick that I learned for Werewolf is actually useful and can be used for even some crazier matchups, I figured I should just go for it, as, well, this war doesn't matter. So, here we have a Bullseye boss, and I'm taking it with Werewolf by Night. I went ahead and did throw on the max boosts for this fight, just to get an accurate, like a proof of concept kind of fight, and here is the trick. Essentially, I am gonna be utilizing the light whiff to force the opponent to hold block, then I walk up to them and start hitting their block with light attacks instead of the double medium. And that eliminates the whole problem with you getting reparried after your double medium into their block, and it essentially allows you to stack up those tactic prowesses without any issues, and even better, you can still get the medium in with your blocked hits to get those ruptures ticking on the opponent. And essentially, that means that even against someone like Bullseye, you can take them with Werewolf. It's just gonna be a long fight. A lot of howling, a lot of hitting into the block, a lot of ruptures, but it is doable, and that is exactly what I'm gonna be showing here. One special 2 already in, and it deals a nice chunk of damage, but unfortunately it's not as much as I thought it would be. And just seeing that first one done, I'm very concerned about the fight time at this point. Either way, if I die here or time out, it doesn't matter for the result. However, it's still gonna be painful, and regardless, I just wanted to try to see if this was actually doable or not. Now, one thing that I do have to mention here also is the fact that this Bullseye is a rank 3 and my Werewolf is only a rank 2, so I am punching up here, and my Werewolf isn't awakened either, so my regeneration is not gonna be as potent as a duped Werewolf would have. That said, the regeneration is very important here as well, so I would like to get him duped, but that's not happening anytime soon. Either way, as long as the curse is active, which against the boss node it is for the most of the fight, as soon as the opponent has at least 2 buffs. Both the physical and the energy resistance buffs from the resistance node on the boss node will count for it, so as long as the opponent gets 2 of them, then the curse will remain paused even if you are not hitting the opponent, so long as you remain outside of hitting distance. That allows you to take full use of the regeneration he has during the curse, and that offsets a ton of the damage you take from having to block his special ones. It will not offset all of it, and you can't survive indefinitely. At least not with a rank 1 Werewolf, or rather unawakened Werewolf. I'm not sure if the dupe ability would allow you to actually survive indefinitely in here. It very well might, I don't know since I don't have one, but if someone is crazy enough to try this fight themselves, I would definitely like to know. Now at this point we have less than 2 minutes left in the clock. I'm down to 30%, but so is Bullseye, so overall I am the one winning this race for now. Just gonna get the curse up again, start howling, get to that special to throw it 2 more times, and that should be enough to close out the fight. Before then, I will have to wait at least 1, maybe 2 special ones from Bullseye, but I should be able to live through them, especially with the regen ticking as high as it is right now. So 1 special 2 there, he is melting down, he is at 10%, dropped below that, and now I just need to climb up to another special 2 of my own, and the fight is done. Dropped down to 17% from his special 1, but that's fine, I'm healing up, I'm slowly but surely taking him down, getting the howl back, I'm so close to another special 2 here, but I make a slight mistake. And I get caught on my dashback. Just got to my special 2 as well, that would have been enough to finish the fight, but I did not get the solo due to a simple user error. But that said, I do hope that this serves as a proof of concept and a proof that Werewolf by Night is once again usable even with this tactic, and reparries will not be a problem again. You can simply avoid them by utilizing the light whiff, which is honestly one of the most powerful AI manipulation tricks in the whole game. The uses of it are, well, not endless, but there are many of them, and new ones are found every now and then as well, as we can see here. So I went ahead and used a 40% revive, just hopped back in immediately to close out the fight, just because. And no, I didn't heal up, because I didn't feel like it, and honestly just a single special 2 left and the fight is done. I'm not gonna die to blocking a single special 1 if he manages to throw it, which he didn't even get to do that, and the fight is over. Did lose 1 attack bonus there, but yeah, it's not gonna matter. As for the results, we did end up losing the war 6-13, and yeah, we didn't fully clear our one of the BGs at least.